What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Snobs podcast. I am your host, Mick Manhattan. As always, I'm here live with you on Facebook, and we're having a good show. I have a lot of news to get into tonight. Some stuff I do want to talk about real quick. Chris, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining in. One of the things I want to kind of get into real quick is a bunch of stuff is going on with the Snobs.com, and I want to kind of just fill everybody in so they're aware of like what's happening throughout the week. We currently have the first ever Ultimate Movie Watch Challenge with the Snobs.com. So this is our way to kind of help out the Alamo Draft House here in Winchester, Virginia. We are fans of it. We go. They're good to us. Great people who work there, and we want to help out any way we can. So we're going to do this thing called the Ultimate Movie Challenge. That's through the Snobs.com. Basically, from yesterday until June 18th, they have there's a link pinned to the top of the Facebook page, and that is through the Narangis Management Group, which owns the Alamo. Steve's a great guy. The whole family's really nice and really charitable people, so I want to help them out. They have a list of movies that you can rent. All the proceeds go to Alamo. They're helping pay for the employees, things like that. So during this time, while they remain closed. So we want to help them out. They also have takeout, so if you're local, you should go get some food. Their food is very good there. They have curbside delivery, so you can go get the food. They have a list of like 40 plus movies, and they're adding to it every week that you can rent and watch. Whoever watches the most amount of movies from now until June 18th will win the Ultimate Movie Watch Challenge. If this keeps going, then we'll have another one next year, and so on and so forth. But you will be the Ultimate Movie Watch Challenge champion. So we're gonna have a bunch of cool prizes. They're all listed, so make sure you go check that out. We're gonna do some really cool stuff. Original artwork from Rob. Over on Rob Paints the Movies, and co-host on Behind the Box podcast. And quite a few other things too. You'll even get a certificate saying that you were the first ever winner of the SceneSnobs.com Ultimate Movie Challenge. So that's again, we're not getting anything for that. All proceeds go to help out the Alamo. Every rental that you get. So hopefully you want to join in. It should be a lot of fun. Some other things we have going on. Remember, Behind the Box podcast is live on Facebook tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Every Wednesday. We're doing bracket right now, the Movie Monster bracket. And tomorrow we're doing the top 16 alien monsters from movies. It's been a lot of fun to do this bracket. We have our new host, Lori, just joined us, Rob and I. Lenny is coming in. He's guest host right now, but who knows? Maybe we can lure him in to become a host. He's been doing fantastic. It's been a lot of fun to have Lenny on the show. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff with the alien movie monsters, things like that. Rob Paints the Movies, brand new. Will be that. Behind the Box has its own page now. It will be live there. So make sure you go check that out. It'll be on the YouTube page, on the YouTube channel as well. If you want to go to the Scene Snobs YouTube channel. But on the Behind the Box podcast Facebook, that's where it will be live. Not here on the Scene Snobs Facebook page. But Rob Paints the Movies will be here on Thursday at 7:30. He paints a new movie character every week. If you guess it, you get to pick what he paints the next week. So that's a lot of fun. Check that out. And we are having a huge, huge group watch. Every Saturday we have a group watch. It starts out, I come on here on Facebook Live. I introduce the movie that we're going to watch, talk about it, do a few things. 8 o'clock, we all press play. There's a discussion thread during the movie on the Facebook page. And then afterwards, I come back on the Facebook Live, and we all kind of have a discussion about it afterwards. Well, I'm excited because my favorite movie of all time is going to be what we're watching this week. It is Back to the Future. Well, I want to do something fun for it. You know, we do movie trivia afterwards in the Facebook Live discussion with, and there's prize available, grand prize. But I want to do something fun. I want to get selfies together. We all watch the movie, and I want everybody dressed in either their favorite 80s clothes, 80s dress, or 50s dress. And I will put together a collage of all of the selfies. So hopefully you guys join in. That'll be a lot of fun. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a beanie cap. Well, quarantine got to me. My hair was getting very long, and it had to go. I needed a break. So I decided myself, my kids were not huge fans of it, to shave my head. So that is why I came on with the beanie cap. Didn't want it to be too shocking for people. It will grow back. It always grows back. So I also am sporting a Keep It Local Winchester shirt to help the businesses. There's a bunch of businesses that benefit from this here in Winchester, Virginia. You can go to Signet Marketing. They are making the shirts. They're very comfortable, very cool, and you help out the businesses. So, which is a lot of fun. But make sure you go. If you're local, check out the Hideaway Cafe, Sexy Mexi Burritos, Scotch and Brewery. So many things, and I will list them all out. All these businesses go help out with the keeping it local. So, but if you are farther away and you're not near Winchester, Virginia, keep it local in your own way, wherever you're from. Help out a local business. That's what it's all about. So, that's pretty much what we have going on right now. Make sure you are following us on, Behind the Box, the Scene Snobs, Pulling Focus. We all have our own social media. The Scene Snobs is kind of like the mother hub, with the exception of Pulling Focus. I teamed up with Skyline Indie Film Festival with that. Follow us. We have tons of information going on, tons of articles that we put together. We have lots of fun stuff coming on. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's my summer look. I know, it feels good. It's nice and comfortable. Nice and cool. So we have lots of stuff going on. So follow at The Scene Snob, at Behind the Box Pod, and at PFP Show. That is our stuff pretty much across the board on all social media. You can find it. I have it tagged everywhere. But we always have news coming up. We always have shows going on. You can find it all the links on thescenesnobs.com. So there you'll have it. So, all right, let's get started. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. I know I'm having a lot of fun. Just good times all around. Everybody doing well? I don't know why I waited for you to sound off on that. You would have to write it. All right, so Chris is here. Lenny's here. Karen's here. Karen, thanks for joining in. Lots of fun stuff to be had. Before we get started, I want to go over tonight's topics. This is stuff for you guys to think about. And just let me know your answers, and let's discuss them. I love that interaction with you guys. And our topics for tonight are, what is your favorite time travel movie? In honor of Back to the Future being shown. What decade has had the best movies? Let's round it off. Let's just keep it like the 70s is 70 to 79, 80s is 80 to 89, and so on and so forth, and we can go anywhere with that. So, what decade has had the best movies in your opinion? And another one is, what two movie characters would be a dream team-up for you? Would you like to see Snake Plissken team up with Jack Burton? Something like that. Would you like to see Riggs team up with John McClane? So it can be a dream team, if you will, for lack of a better term. So that's the topics for tonight. If anybody joining in is missing them, let me know and I will announce them again. But we do have some news, so I'm going to go along and kind of read some stuff that I have been interested in all week, and I want to know what you guys think. So, first up, big news that came out. I don't really watch the show. I like the actress, though. She was always good. Ruby Rose, who was cast in the Batwoman TV show. I did watch the DC event they had where it was basically Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they went around. Well, she did one season and exited the show. No official reason why. She came out and she thanked everybody. Very peculiar. And Warner Brothers and Greg Berlanti and the rest of the production teams that were doing the show also came out and said that they are going forward with the second season. They will recast her, and that's kind of where that's at for now. Yeah, but that was huge news in the comic book world as of now, to see that she's just gone. She quit. I mean, that's nobody saw that one coming because the show, I guess, was doing all right. I don't know if it was doing perfect, but it definitely was doing well. Well enough to garner a second season. So, like most of those shows do. So we will find out probably in the upcoming. To speculate, I'll say in the upcoming weeks we're going to find out something happened to make her leave. I'm anxious to see what it is. They were very quick to say that they were going to find somebody else from the LGBTQ IQ community, which fine, not a big deal with me, but I don't know why that had to be announced. Just find another actress who fits the bill. Tough to say though. I think she did a really good job. I do. I really enjoyed her turn. So we shall see. Some other news that I was really excited about. Before getting into Star Wars, I want to touch down on Star Trek. I don't know how many of you have watched last season of Discovery. Now, I'm not a huge Discovery fan. I was not a big fan of how the last season went. I did like Anson Mount as Christopher Pike. For anybody who's not a Star Trek fan, Christopher Pike was the captain of the Enterprise before Kirk. Kirk essentially took over after Pike got into had some very terrible wounds that occurred, and there's a whole storyline for it on the original series. You can go check that out. I'm excited to see where they go with this because it takes place years before Kirk took over, of course, so they're going to be traveling. I love Anson Mount. I loved him on Hell on Wheels. I think he was a great Captain Pike on Discovery. Evan, what's going on? For me, the 80s was the best for the movies. Cool. We are going to get to that. I do want to finish up here. So, Anson Mount announced officially that Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So we are getting the Enterprise back in action with Pike at the helm. Spock will be there. So that will be exciting. Rebecca Romijn's going to come back as number one. If you remember now, anybody who watched the original series, it wasn't... Ethan Peck plays this iteration of Spock, but Rebecca Romijn is playing number one, who in the original series, Captain Pike had her as his first commanding officer, and Spock was his lead science officer. So, it's True Crimes is my all-time favorite. I'm not sure. We'll get to that. So, with this new one, it seems like they're going to get everybody. I'm wondering if it's going to be Anson Mount taking over from Captain Robert April, who was the captain of the Enterprise before him. That will be exciting to see. They did make mention that Kirk is probably going to make an appearance on the show, which kind of makes sense. And I wouldn't be too surprised, if he's just like a one-off, comes on the show maybe for an episode or something, as a young up-and-comer in the ranks. But I wouldn't be surprised if, Uhura shows up or Scotty. These are all people who could be, feasibly be on the show, working in their different capacities. So I am very excited. I didn't love Picard, but I didn't dislike it. I thought it paid a lot of homage to Next Gen and the movies. I didn't love the storylines, and I didn't love all the characters that they introduced. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna watch season 2, and I watched season 3 of Discovery. I do love Star Trek, so I'm gonna go right along with it and see how it goes. But I am excited to see the Enterprise back. I mean, got it over there, got it everywhere. So it's my favorite ship, and I am excited for it. That's where we're at with that. Let me see what some of you guys are saying. So Evan says, for the 80s, for me, the 80s was the best for movies. Give me a reason. There's plenty of great reasons. You can name movies, but what sets the 80s movies apart from, the 70s movies, which had a huge boom, or the 90s, or so on and so forth, or before? So, Len, thanks for joining, buddy. This is a great topic, and there are so many choices to pick from, but Back to the Future has and always will be my favorite time travel movie. However, if I have to defend this movie, it will be Midnight in Paris is a close second. I've actually never seen Midnight in Paris. I would like to. I've heard some great things about it. Time Crimes. I'm sorry, I don't know why I read that as True Crimes. Chris, Time Crimes is a great movie. And a really loopy, crazy movie, too, in my opinion. If anybody hasn't seen Time Crimes, should definitely check it out. I have not seen Midnight in Paris. I've heard great things about it, so I'm anxious to check it out. And now I will, based on your recommendation. What is it about Midnight in Paris that stands out for you? I mean, I want to take Back to the Future off the table because I think Back to the Future is probably a lot of people's favorite time travel movie. And I want to hear more about other things from you guys. All right. You know, it was really cool. So to kind of jump into Star Wars, because I have some Star Wars news, but I want to touch down on this. I don't know how many of you have seen Rise of Skywalker. I've seen it. I've seen it a few times now. Just to make sure it is what I thought it was. Well, I recently, as May the 4th, I sat down with my stepson, who is 8, and my son, who is 3, and we started watching all of the live-action movies. So that was a big deal for me. And they were both in it. They both were watching it. They were playing with the toys afterwards, kind of going crazy for it. And I loved that. I had such a great time with it, and sitting there watching it with them. Well, we were watching Rise of Skywalker, and yeah, it has its problems. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to go into all that. I can be talking for days, just like you guys, about it. But I will say one thing that made them perk, and it made me perk too. And I really think most of it was because of the score playing at the time. Was when Poe they're firing on all of the Super Star Destroyers that they have there that are planet enders. And he's flying around, and they're getting decimated. They're losing. And then he hears from Lando, and he goes, "You're not alone." And that meant, I was like, that's awesome. Now, this is that, if you watch Deep Space Nine, that Dominion War, getting ready to get in the set, they lost Deep Space Nine. Cisco's retreating from it. It has to leave, and they go and they meet up the Starfleet. Turns around and they go back to take Deep Space Nine back. That's a big moment in TV history, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. Well, the very cool thing about this was, it was Poe flying around, and he thought, all right, I'm done. We don't have any more help. We have nobody here to help us. And he flies over that one ship, and the music swells, and it gets loud, and there are countless ships just sitting there and showing up. And I gotta tell you, for Star Wars, that was a big moment. You know, say what you will about the final movie and what it could have been, because I read what it could have been, and it could have been amazing, and what it actually is. But there were some moments in it that really hit you, and you were like, all right, this is awesome. And that was one of those moments. And to see my kids' faces just kind of light up when they saw that, oh, there is hope, it felt really good, and I thought they did that right. I wish it was done a little bit better, but I wish it was tacked onto a better movie, but it was a very cool scene. And I kind of want to talk about that and tell that story, because I'm going into more Star Wars news. But keep in mind, we still got these topics. Anybody just joining in, our topics for this evening are, what's your favorite time travel movie? What decade has had the best movies? And what 2 movie characters would be a dream team for you? Please sound off. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Definitely excited. Well, The Mandalorian is getting ready to start shooting, or it has been. I doubt it is right now. But there's some news coming out. So Timothy Olyphant is seen on set, and he was seen on set in Boba Fett gear. And everybody was kind of getting excited, what is happening? Is he playing Boba Fett? But we also got news that Tamora Morrison, who played Jango Fett, and subsequently all of the clone troopers, and you would think he would go on to play Boba Fett. But we never saw his face as Boba Fett. So he was coming back as well. Now here's the fun thing. He can come back as the character of Rex out of Rebels. who was a clone trooper who kind of, after the war, went off, did his own thing, helping the rebellion. Um, but with Timothy Oliphant showing up in the Boba Fett gear, supposedly there's being reported that Boba Fett did die. So that means Morrison could be coming back as Rex, which would be awesome. If you watch Rebels, it's a really cool choice. And we are getting other characters from the animated series as well. Or you can, but basically, Timothy Oliphant is maybe a character that was made up in a book Aftermath. Cobb Vanth, who is he's sort of like a sheriff of Mos Eisley, and on Tatooine, and he could be just kind of holding on to Boba Fett's gear. I'm excited to hear from it and see what happens with it. With his Mandalorian armor. We do also have Rosario Dawson coming back to play Ahsoka Tano, who was the Padawan learner of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars movie and TV show. And she showed up again later in Rebels as one of the rebels, the Jedi Rebels. So that's going to be a very cool thing. Rosario Dawson playing her. So yeah, lots of news coming out. I'm very excited for Mandalorian Season 2. I want to see where they take it. Supposedly, we're going to get some more on the Black Saber, the history of the Black Saber and where it's been. So I'm excited for that. The last movie in Star Wars was trying to salvage what it could from the previous disaster of a movie. Okay. Glad you brought that up, Len. There's a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, especially Star Wars fans. I didn't hate The Last Jedi. I did not think The Last Jedi was that bad, honestly. Does it fit? No. It does not fit in what it should be. So, but I liked the premise of what they had to go through and what it was. Now, there were a lot of things that didn't work about it, don't get me wrong. Like I said, it not fitting between 7, 8, 9, it not being a good bridge between those two, sucks. And yeah, that meant Rise of Skywalker had to salvage a lot. That's a screw up on execs' parts. Now, as a movie, I can still watch it. I don't love it. It's not one of my go-tos. It's not like I'm going to sit there and jump in and be like, hey, this is a great movie. But with The Last Jedi, I still like the premise of it. And I think I like the premise of it, and I've actually had this discussion before on a friend of mine's podcast I was a guest on called Today in Space, my friend Alex's podcast, which if you love science, you love space, astronomy, everything, you should go check that out. It's a really cool podcast. We talked about Star Trek quite a bit, and we talked about Star Wars quite a bit, and the differences. And my take on it is, The Last Jedi could have been a very cool Star Trek episode, or even a movie. I think it worked better in the Star Trek universe. Them trying to just about stay out of distance from an imposing force. You know, it could have been anybody. Depending on when it takes place, could have been Romulan, could have been... I think Romulan probably would have been the best to work. It could have been Klingons if it was the original series, whatever. But just, warp core down. They kind of have to just stay out of... stay ahead of them a little bit in pace. That's a very Star Trek episode. So I didn't hate the premise, and I think that's what it was. And I still like the characters that were set up from Force Awakens, so I didn't hate any of these characters. A lot of people hated Rose, and she didn't bother me. I thought she got kind of dicked over in The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't think she needed to be. So, for me, again, I'll watch The Last Jedi. It doesn't bother me. But it's so different from The Force Awakens, and it's so different from The Rise of Skywalker. I just kind of... At that point, it's sad to see the Skywalker saga end that way. And we can never get a redo. We'll never get a redo of it, and that bothers me. Alright, let's see what some people have to say. Len says, Mike, the reason I like Midnight in Paris is that it is a well-written movie by Woody Allen. It just follows Owen Wilson Oh, you know what? I did see Midnight in Paris. I was thinking Paris, Texas for some reason, and when you said time travel, it kind of threw me off. All right, I did see Midnight in Paris. Owen Wilson's character, who feels that the 20s time period was the best period for writing. However, the people he runs into say that prior time period was the best for writing, not realizing that they have in front of them at the moment. Yes, Midnight in Paris was a very good movie. I'm glad you brought that up because it's not considered a time travel movie because it's not a sci-fi movie, but it is very much a time travel movie. Owen Wilson does a great job. Everybody does a great job in it. I will say, um, I love the writing aspect of it, of where it takes place and how writers back in the 20s, Fitzgerald, everybody who Hemingway was in it, were all looking backwards and saying the writing is dead, blah blah blah. And now you have this writer from present day who's like, yeah, it's never been as good as it was then, you know. And it is a very cool way to look at it. Let's see. Len says, "I hope Star Wars follows the novels of Boba Fett lives." They probably will not. I'm gonna break that down for you now. Don't blame the Mandalorian for that. They're gonna do the best what they have, but I think they're gonna do a phenomenal job. Um, I think Boba Fett's probably gonna be dead. That's just where I'm at with that. So with that, like I was saying, we have going back to kind of what I was saying with the final three, 7, 8, 9 in Star Wars. It was sad to see them kind of throw this thing together. I wish it could be redone. It cannot. You're never going to get Mark Hamill back. You're never going to get Harrison Ford back. You can't get Carrie Fisher back, and you need them. You need them to end it off. And I'm sorry that their characters did not get the right send off. But we'll always have the Holy Trilogy. And 3 great movies is better than, none. Or even 1. So, going from there, some crazy news. It was kind of throwing me for a loop a little bit. Was what do you call it? The Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. Okay, now Justice League. All right, the DC movies have been really annoying. Really annoying. I wanted to like them so bad. When Man of Steel came out, I was very much... I liked it, but it wasn't great. It was trying to toe that line of, well, we could fit in the Christopher Nolan world if we needed to, until they made the movie, and then right after they're like, okay, you're not getting Christian Bale. It's not going to happen. He's done. So then you're just kind of like stuck there like, all right, well, we made this dark Superman to fit that world, and now it doesn't work. You'll never convince me otherwise that that's what happened. You will never in a million years convince me otherwise. Especially with Jonathan Nolan on Superman, Man of Steel rather. They tried so hard. So then we get, Wonder Woman, let's face facts, is the best one out of all of them. Wonder Woman was fantastic, did a great job. You can say Joker, I don't care. I didn't like Joker, that's just me. I thought it was stupid. But it is successful. So Wonder Woman and Joker are the most successful. But to me, Wonder Woman is the best DC movie out in this grouping. So you get Batman v Superman, sucked, terrible, never went back. Now, I was a kid who grew up with comic books, loved comic books. DC was, besides Spider-Man, DC was my go-to. Now, I read everything in Marvel too, but DC, like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, I read all of those comic books. I loved them. So to go and see and have my heart broken by Batman vs. Superman, I'm like, how are you not doing this right? And then right around the block, you have Marvel doing it perfectly. That was just devastating, man. It really was. It killed me. And then to get announced that they are making a Justice League movie. I was more excited for Justice League movie than I would have been more excited, I should say. Let me kind of peel this back a little bit. I would have been way more excited for a Justice League movie than an Avengers movie if you told me at the same time we're making both. I was even less excited for a Justice League movie after seeing Batman vs. Superman and was just like, really? You're going to make a Justice League movie? You haven't introduced anybody but Wonder Woman and Batman. This is ridiculous. So, with that being said, we go and we get the Justice League movie that we did, which was a debacle. Zack Snyder gets fired. They bring in Joss Whedon, who, I don't know what happened. I don't know who's... I need to see this Snyder Cut version because of all of the upskirt shots of Wonder Woman was just disgraceful. So that bothered me about Justice League. I like Jason Momoa. I didn't like him as Aquaman. I didn't like him in the Aquaman movie. I thought the Aquaman movie was stupid. It started out good, ended good, and in the middle just went to places that was like, hey, we're going to be Indiana Jones too. Why not? And it just pissed me off. So, still haven't gotten anything else. How we have not gotten a Green Lantern movie is criminal, with everything else they're setting up. And just so we get this Justice League movie, and it is complete and utter horse crap. The whole thing. I hated it. And I can't believe they made this. How did you not quit it? But now everybody's saying this is a Snyder Cut. Release the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut is great. The Snyder Cut is awesome. Okay, I'm game. Let's hear it. Let's see what we got. Do we have an actual cut, and is it actually a good movie? That would be hard to believe, in all honesty. Well, they've been talking about the Snyder Cut for a while. Then a billboard pops up in Los Angeles of the Justice League from the movies. From the movie Justice League, I should say, with a big HBO Max label. Okay, that could just mean that they had the Justice League. But what happens next? Like, why are you putting up a movie that was critically panned and failed at the box office on a billboard with HBO Max? How is that going to attract people to HBO Max? Well, obviously, they have something up their sleeve. And I'm anxious to see what exactly they do have up their sleeve. Are we going to be getting the Snyder Cut of Justice League? I think so. So after they put that up, after that gets noticed, after that gets put out, Zack Snyder comes out and says, hey, Wednesday, May 20th, we're going to do a Man of Steel watch party with a Q&A. I wonder what that means. So, he, under the guise of trying to help people, and with HBO Max clearly coming out and launching on May 27th, we are going to probably get the announcement tomorrow during the Q&A that the Snyder Cut has been acquired by HBO Max and will be released on the day of. I will tell you what, I hated the Justice. I didn't even go see the Justice League in theaters. I've seen every comic book movie since I've been alive in theaters that came out. Everyone. Even Josh Trank's horrible Fantastic Four. Every comic book movie. And this, I did not go see. The Justice League, I did not go see. That's a big deal for me. But if Snyder does come out tomorrow and says, hey, it's going to be on HBO Go check it out, I might sign up for HBO Go. Or HBO Max, or whatever they're calling themselves these days. I would be excited to see that, honestly. I may hate it. I may regret signing up to do that, but we'll see. So we'll see if the announcement comes out tomorrow after Man of Steel. Len Francis says, best decade is a toss-up between the 70s and then the 80s, just simply for the amount of times Hollywood has attempted to remake the plethora of movies from that time frame. But they just fall flat. Besides the volume of actors that came out from both decades, will be a higher volume and remembered when actors from the 40s or 50s, even in terms of, remembered over the actors from the 40s or 50s, even in terms of overall production of movies. Typically, movies from the 70s still hold very high on various top movie genre lists. That's true, and I think that will hold out for a long time. There was an that was a discussion I had one time. I think I've talked about this on Pulling Focus, but I was in a screenwriting course one time with a friend of mine, and they asked, "What are your favorite movies?" And one friend, I forget what he said, but I think it was Braveheart. I might be wrong though. And then they asked me, and I was like, "Back to the Future." And I kind of got scowling looks from everybody in the class, including the teacher, of Back to the Future being my favorite movie. And then he looked at my friend and I, and he goes, "Braveheart and Back to the Future, those are two very different movies." And then he heard a couple others, and he goes, and he made kind of a few jokes about Back to the Future, and I was just like, "Yeah." But out of all the movies named, not putting any of those other ones down, out of all the movies named, which one is probably known as one of the best movies of all time? Back to the Future. You can hate all, and that's something I kind of want to rant about and talk about a little bit because it's been coming up a lot lately. I did an interview with the directing brothers Elliot and Xander Weaver. They did a movie called Cosmos. It's on Amazon. If you have Amazon, it's included. Go check it out. It's a great sci-fi movie with a lot of interesting technical aspects to it about the astronomers, out there, they're engineers, things like that. They're scientists. Let's just say they're scientists who are watching the skies and they get a signal. And that's all I'm going to leave it at. And it's a really interesting take. It's a beautifully done movie. It took them 5 years to do this movie on their own budget, and they got it done. And we got to sit down and talk to them about it. And I asked them, I was like, "What's your favorite? Who are your influences?" Things like that. And like Steven Spielberg was a huge influence for him. I think E.T. was Xander, one of the brothers, was his favorite movie. Back to the Future was one of their favorite movies. And they said that often when they talk to other filmmakers, they talk to other people in the industry, they all say Steven Spielberg's their favorite director, and people will be turned off by that. People will say, "Really?" And I get mad at that. That is, irony. The scene snob gets annoyed at snobs who turn their nose up at people like Steven Spielberg. Name me one Steven Spielberg movie that was so bad it's unwatchable. Let's pull it back a little bit. Name me one Steven Spielberg movie that's unwatchable. You may not like it. You don't have to like every movie. I'm not saying that you have to like every movie, but name one that's unwatchable. For reasons of that it's bad. Like if somebody says, "I can't take Saving Private Ryan because it just messes with me," or Schindler's List. I understand that, but it's not bad. They're not bad movies. So I never understood why snobs hate them. Directed or produced, Len asks. Directed, of course, would be the preferable way to go about it, but because he actually made the film. But produced, I mean, I'm sure he produced some duds, but he didn't direct them. I'm talking about actually made the movies. So for me, Steven Spielberg has never done anything that's unwatchable. There are things I don't revisit that he did. The Lost World. I don't dislike the movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's as good as Jurassic Park. So for me, it's like when people turn their nose up at directors like him, or you know what it is? I think a lot of filmmakers, things like that, especially the avant-garde filmmakers, or the ones that really need that message in there. This is where I'm a snob. They do it in a way that they don't like optimistic filmmakers, because a lot of times optimistic filmmakers, the dreamers, if you will, take away from what they're trying to achieve or push as far as movies go. And that bugs me, because you need the optimistic filmmakers. In fact, if anything, I think you need optimistic filmmakers more than you need any other type of filmmaker. And Spielberg is the top of the heap in my opinion. You know, you look back and you say, okay, Lucas, all right, he was an optimistic filmmaker. I would say the reason you may not enjoy the prequels are because by that time he was not an optimistic filmmaker. He was second guessing himself constantly. When he redid the special editions of Star Wars, he was not an optimistic filmmaker at that point. He was, again, questioning himself, you know, going back on things. Should Han shoot first? Heroes don't shoot first. But that was the whole story arc. When you ruin that story arc of him only being in it for himself, and here I'm going to go on to Star Wars again because I love it, but anybody who doesn't understand this, Han needed to shoot first. Han was a good guy who was out for himself because that's all he knew how to be, until he gained the friendship angle. And I think that's what the Solo story kind of takes away from, is if you keep Han... the Solo story works with Han not shooting first, if that makes sense. If you left Han shooting first in A New Hope, and the Solo story makes no sense. He's not going to become that hardened and that dark. He's hardened and dark because all he has in the world to trust is Chewie. So, if Han doesn't shoot first, it makes no sense for him to come back and save Luke later. That's how it works. I don't know why George Lucas would change that. I can go over for days why. I don't know who sat down with him and was like, you got to change this. This just doesn't work. Because it does. He comes back later. It's his heroic moment of coming back later. Yeah, he shot a bounty hunter first in a lawless world to save his own neck. But then he put his own neck in danger to go and save Luke, his friend. Somebody who believed in him. Believed he was good. Nobody else besides Chewie thought that. So for Luke to do that and say, you guys are good. You guys are our friends. We want you here. We need your help. That was huge. That was a turning point. From the guy who shoots first, out only in it for himself, to the hero. Plus it also works because he shot Vader from behind. He shot the two other TIE fighters and Vader from behind. Which is a scoundrel thing to do. Which is, yes, this is his heroic turning point to save Luke and blow up the Death Star. But he shot them from behind still. He's still a scoundrel. He still hasn't changed his ways completely, which is his arc in the second one and then into the third one, where Leia helps change him. And I can go on for days. But getting back to my point of filmmakers, you have people like Steven Spielberg. I've even heard it about Martin Scorsese. And Martin Scorsese has had some dark films, and those are the ones that are revered. It's funny because Spielberg has always seemed to stay optimistic throughout, and I respect that. But, and I'm not saying that he hasn't had dark films, like Minority Report, things like that. Like, he's obviously had some very dark films, but they still have an optimistic point of view, which is a big deal in my opinion. So you get Spielberg, but then you get like Scorsese, who has always had more of a pessimistic view because of where he grew up. He was a product of his environment. So you get Scorsese kind of having like, things don't always end up good, but the world keeps turning, and things will turn up good for others. And he's had some optimistic movies, but they've always been panned. And that's what I hate. You know, you really never had a happy ending up until a certain point with Scorsese. And then even every time he got kind of panned by it, he always went back to the pessimistic side, whereas Spielberg always kind of trained through, I think. Hugo was a very optimistic movie about filmmaking, and it took away. Len Francis says, in terms of Steven Spielberg, I know this won't hold much weight, but I've always hated E.T. I just have never been a fan of the movie. If we are judging in terms of film specs, it's a nice-looking movie. However, I just don't like the film. That's fine. You don't have to like the film. I'm not, again, You don't have to like Steven Spielberg's body of work. But has he made an unwatchable movie? He made he made a movie that is unwatchable to you. But think about, I'm talking about the masses. You have to put your name. There are people who love E.T. and are dedicated to that movie. It was a cultural phenomenon when it came out. That single-handedly put the best candy on the map with Reese's Pieces. Truly amazing. It is an amazing movie. It's not, and it looks, and it's visually stunning, but at the same time, it's a charismatic movie. It's a movie about these kids who lost their father, who left them and abandoned them, and then gained somebody else, gained this alien in their lives who cared for them. That's what they needed at that moment. They needed this to bond them, and it did. And it's just such a beautiful movie. You got a lot of things when it comes to Steven Spielberg, though, and talking about that. Again, you should go listen to the interview Brian and I did with over at Pulling Focus with the Weaver brothers. It was really fun to talk to them, especially about stuff like this. And like I said, this is where I become sort of a snob about it, because a snob of the snobs who hate those types of filmmakers and things like that have more of an optimistic view, like Spielberg. But can you name one unwatchable movie? Yes, like I said, Len, you didn't like E.T., and that's fair. I'm not saying you have to like their entire body of work. Lots of people didn't like Ready Player One, but that was my favorite movie of that year. My favorite movie out of all of them. Why? Because of the imagination, creativity, and everything behind it. And the acting was fun. And not just because of all the characters and the nostalgia in it, but because of the optimism, because of the hero's rise and everything else in that story. I really enjoyed that movie, and I needed that optimism through that time. So, Brian, I will 100% disagree with you, and we probably are going to debate this on our show. Hook is not good? Are you kidding me? Hook is one of his best movies. And here's the funny thing. Spielberg will probably agree with you. There's a rumor that after he went and saw Hook, Spielberg left the premiere, got in his limo, and cried. And that was why he went on, and I think it was Schindler's List was the next one that he made after that. I kind of want to check that out. But that was always the rumor in Hollywood. I disagree. Now, is it his best movie? By no means will I say Hook is his best movie. But I will say this. It is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. It's imaginative. Brings the Peter Pan lore back. I really liked it. Len Francis, I second Brian as a huge Peter Pan fan. I hate Hook. I thought Hook was great. I guess I'm in the minority. Chris Sales, E.T. was a very impactful movie for me as a kid. In fact, I teared up on the recent commercial when E.T. came back and hung out with a grown-up Elliot. I agree. I loved it. Yeah, he cries, but because Hook stunk. Well, that's what he thought. He thought it was sort of his sellout. Which is, again, the rumor. I'm not confirming that. I don't know. And it wasn't sitting there. But I liked Hook. I do. And I've revisited it not too long ago either. It was Schindler's List. Schindler's List was the movie that E.T. movie got me too. Commercial got me too. It did me too when I watched it. I will agree with you, Chris and Brian. But that movie, you don't have to like Hook. I get it. I did. So again, and the masses do, I meet a lot more people who loved Hook than didn't like it. So again, taking it back to me, you may not like it, but did he make an unwatchable movie? Obviously not, if the masses really adored it. If he didn't like it, again, it was, like I said, I think it was Schindler's List that he went on to make, to be like, okay, I sold out, I'm going to make Schindler's List, which is a brilliant movie. Schindler's List is amazing. Len Francis, maybe I also hate E.T. because it killed John Carpenter's The Thing in the box office. I get that, but it didn't kill John Carpenter's thing. John Carpenter's thing wasn't going to be received well because of E.T. that came out, and it was more of again, an optimistic point of view, but the cult status, I don't know that the thing would have ever done well in that era. Even if you put it out a year before, even if you put it out a year after, I don't know that it ever would have done well in that era. I would love to think that it would. It is an amazing movie. I'm glad it found a cult status. I'm glad people found it and love it and adore it. It's my personal go-to, way more over E.T. But I don't think that it would. It worked back then. I think it works since then, and that's why it is what it is now. But going to, yeah, man, I keep going back to all of the movies that he directed. Like, because again, 1941, not an unwatchable movie. Wasn't a hit. I'm not saying that everything was a hit that he did. What was it? I never saw Stroke of Genius. It was a miniseries. It was a documentary. And Sugar Land Express was good. So I'm kind of just checking out. I don't want to check out all Steven Spielberg movies. I'm getting lost in it, but. So, for me, when I hear people complaining about these certain type of filmmakers, like, you say something, everybody's like, really? That's the movie that's, like, one of your favorites of all time? Yes! War Horses, yikes. War Horse, yikes. I haven't seen War Horse, but I have heard good things about it, but I also know that it got panned. I should probably check that out for myself. And I never saw the BFG. But I can't imagine him making anything that's just unlikable. At least by a certain mass. But all right, I might be wrong. Ryan, you might got me with War Horse. I don't know. I didn't see it, so I will check it out and I will let you know what I think. Now, going back though, and kind of getting out of Spielberg. You guys keep talking about it. Keep bringing stuff up. I love the stuff that you guys talking about, but it's not just that. There's other filmmakers too, and it seems like the longer you go on, the more people are like, really? Like, you like that guy or this guy or whatever? And that drives me nuts. I don't understand why. Michael Mann has been another one. He's made some amazing movies, in my opinion. Not everything is loved, but I tell you, I love a lot of his stuff. But, I've heard in film school, things like that, that Michael Mann was kind of like, really? Like, Michael Mann, like, Heat was good, or this was good, or that was good, and it's like, I mean, this guy's made some great movies. Like, cut him some slack, Another big one is Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner has come up, and that was another one. So that came up in another interview I did with the producers from The Quarry. They're both big Rob Reiner fans, apparently. But I've actually had a snob look at me right in the eye and say, because I went and all right, I'll tell a story. Why not? I'm here, right? So I went to the theater. I used to do this thing when I would go to the theater. I would just show up randomly, and whatever was playing next, I would go see. I know a lot of you film fans out there have probably done the same thing. It's just a fun time, something to do. And you might see something you never thought you would see before. Well, one time I went to the theater. I was living in Orlando at the time, going to school. And I went, the only thing that was playing was The Bucket List. I was like, all right, well, that's next. I'll go see it. Rob Reiner directed. I like Rob Reiner. Jack Nicholson's in it. I love Jack Nicholson, one of my favorite actors of all time. Morgan Freeman's in it, another great actor I love. It seems like it's going to be one of those optimistic type movies, but I don't dislike those. And I went and I watched it, and I walked out, and I was like, that was feel good, though. And, it was nice. And like I said, my thing is I try to find the merit in every movie. Whether it be some, you see a certain shot you've never seen before that was just like amazing, and you walked away from it and it meant something to you, or the acting, or this or that or the other thing. I always try to find the merit in every movie. I don't want to tear down somebody's movie. That's somebody's life. If you're just tearing things down, that's really BS, in my opinion. So you should try and find the good too. I see too many reviewers out there, because everybody's a reviewer nowadays, that are just like, this movie sucks, this movie isn't good, you should hate it for this, 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 and this. Like, again, like I talked about Rise of Skywalker, there are some things in that movie that I really enjoyed. The Last Jedi, same thing. Like, there are things that I really enjoyed about the movie. So, going to see the bucket list, I walked out of it and I was like, you know, it's a very Rob Reiner type of movie. It was Nicholson and Morgan doing this old guy role, this old guy film. But I liked it. I walked out and I was like, this is not a terrible movie. It's a movie where if I'm home laying on the couch and it's on TV, on TBS at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, and I've got nothing going on, I would have no problems putting this movie on. And I'm pretty sure I've probably done that. Well, I was in film school at the time. So, you don't get snobs. You don't get film snobs places like you do at film school. You get them. They come out in droves. When I get home, we had the community house. Like, there's 4 of us who had a house together. And everybody came and hung out there. So, like, that's where we kept our beer, all the stuff. Well, I walk out, and I go on our back porch, light a cigarette, and there's my roommate and another guy there, and they're like, oh, what'd you go see? I was like, oh, the bucket list. And they kind of gave me, like, a little bit of a scowling look. A little bit of a scowling look, and the one guy who's always very pretentious goes, you and I have very different definitions of what a good movie is. And even did the and I'm just like, I was so pissed. I'm still annoyed about that to this day, and I don't know why. I haven't talked to that guy in 12 years. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Why are you that full of yourself? I don't understand. So that really pissed me off. And it made me realize, it made me take a step further and say, I should never just hate something, especially without seeing it. Now, I may say I don't want to go see that. Like, what was it, the new Charlie's Angels? I've even said that in a past podcast. I had no ambition to go see this. I don't think not that I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think it looks good. It doesn't appeal to me. But doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean other people don't like it. And I'm not going to trash it as being bad. I don't think a reviewer should do that. You find the merit. You say, this wasn't for me. I didn't like it. So on and so forth. That's always been my take on it. Let's read some of you guys there, because I saw some stuff pop up. And there's one that Brian wrote that I definitely want to get to. Len Francis says, also getting back to the time travel movies. My mom's top 3 movies were Somewhere in Time, great Christopher Reeve movie if nobody's seen it. I've never seen it, so I can't say anything about it, but she also watched it. What are the other ones, bud? Somewhere in Time you should watch. It's like a really nice romantic movie. Christopher Reeve does a fantastic job in it. Chris Sale says, In the Shadow of the Moon was a pretty good one too, to me at least. In the Shadow of the Moon, I haven't seen that. I will look that up. Tell me about it a little bit. I would love to hear. And Brian, you brought up a great point, especially when it comes to Reiner. American President. I mean, first off, Reiner's best movie ever. Some will say When Harry Met Sally, which I love. Princess Bride. The Princess Bride is one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. I don't know how it's not on more lists. It's such a fantastic movie. It has one of the best screenwriters, if not novelists, of all time to write it, in William Goldman. And Rob Reiner did a fantastic job. He knocked it out of the park with that one. But then you have American President, as my partner in crime over on Pulling Focus has mentioned. The American President is brilliant. It's such a great movie. Oh, my God, Michael Douglas is fantastic in that movie as the president. I don't even really like Annette Bening that much, her performances and stuff like that. Excuse me, I had an alarm set. I don't really like Annette Bening as an actress that much. Not saying she's bad, she just isn't for me. And I love her in this movie. I couldn't see anybody else doing this role like she did it. And that end speech he gives when he's, you know, tango with me, you know, basically tango with me, she's out of your league. Um, Such a great movie. Michael J. Fox is fantastic in it. You know, there's another really good one. I don't know if it's a Rob Reiner film, but Dave. I don't know who directed Dave. I'm sorry, I'm jumping off topic here, but now I was just thinking about presidential movies. And thinking, being an election year, I want to elect Kevin Kline as Dave. That's all I want in this world is Dave as president. Don't know about the rest of you. But he was quite... Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman, who's a very similar, optimistic director, just like... that's a good one. I wish I made this a topic and thought about it beforehand. Optimistic filmmakers, because Ivan Reitman is very optimistic, just like Rob Reiner, just like Steven Spielberg. And Jason Reitman is a very optimistic type filmmaker, whom I enjoy as well. And there is a place for them, and that's kind of my point here, is there is a place for optimistic filmmakers that snobs need to get over. And I know plenty of snobs out there who are like, oh, if there's no subtitles, and don't get me wrong, I do not mind a great foreign film. Actually, my buddy Len, who is on here, quick story, I used to be, like, we were the film geeks, you know, we always wanted to film stuff, we were always running around doing stuff like that, planning movies, you know, in high school, and I remember he went to college, and he wanted to become a cinematographer, so he was taking film classes, and I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I wasn't going to school at the time, and he was staying with me when he was in school, and he was just like, dude, come to school with me. You know, check out my film. I think it was a film appreciation course. I'm not 100% sure what kind of course it was. He pulled me into school. He took me with him and was like, all right, here's the deal. Sit down, shut up, listen. And I was like, okay. We sit down. The director of the course was fantastic. He was very cool, welcoming to me, auditing his class. Asked me, you know, he liked that I knew some things. I didn't know everything, but he liked that I knew some things and could kind of hold my own a little bit. And then he said, I'm going to show you a movie. It is a foreign film. And I was like, ugh. And like, I think he even asked me about it. He's like, you don't like foreign films? I was like, nah, I can't do them. I can't do subtitles, blah, 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 blah. All that BS. And then he showed Cinema Paradiso, which today is still one of my favorite movies of all time. From that viewing, if you haven't seen it, it's an absolutely beautiful film out of Italy. Oh my god, it is such an amazing movie. I could talk about it for days. And since that, I have been more than happy to get into foreign movies. Parasite was the best movie of last year, 100%. I watched One Cut of the Dead the other day. Truly amazing movie. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Get past the first 37 minutes, which aren't bad. It's a fun movie. But once you get past the 37-minute mark, you get this whole new movie that opens up to you, and it makes the first 37 minutes even better. So do that. Watch that movie. It's fantastic. It's out of Japan. So I love a good foreign film. So when I say that people are snobs and are like, oh, only foreign films for me, stuff like that, there are people like that who exist. I am picking on them. I'm not picking on foreign films. I'm not picking on independent films. I'm not picking on any type of film. Again, there's merit in everything made, and I do want to see it. It's the people who watch it and say, all right, those blockbuster movies are crap because they're not this. It's like, no. They're not crap. The masses want to see that. It may not be for you, and that may not, what you watch may not be for them, but there are people out there who can see both and say they're beautiful. You know? And it really comes down to people who don't want to watch foreign films are being ignorant. People who don't want to watch indie films are being ignorant. People who only want to stick to blockbusters are snobs. In the same way that people only stick to this and say that's bad because it's going to earn $1 billion, don't understand it. They're being snobs. They're being ignorant to it. Again, you don't have to like something. I'm gonna address that, Brian. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like Avengers Endgame. It may not be your cup of tea, and that's completely fine. But don't call it trash because it's not an indie film. Then you just have a problem. Then you're just a snob. And again, I understand the irony of you coming on to the scene snobs and me calling you a snob in a negative connotation if you are like this. Majority of people I've met are not like this. Again, we don't have to like the same things. We don't have to like these movies, that movies. I can get along with anybody, but that's just me. Not everybody can do that. To kind of go back and kind of read some of your comments because you have some really good stuff. So, Chris, I will check that out. Under the Shadow of the Moon, Time Travel Serial Killer. I love those. What was the one? It was Jack the Ripper traveled through time. I think it was Time After Time, wasn't it? That was Malcolm McDowell. Wasn't he played H.G. Wells and he was chasing Jack the Ripper through time, if I remember correctly, or at least present day New York. There's another one that's really fun. It's not a time travel movie, but kind of is. It's Jack the Ripper is in modern day, was it Lake Havisham? Because that's where the London Bridge was, I think. And it has David Hasselhoff as a cop who's chasing him. Again, I can find merit in everything, and that merit is David Hasselhoff. But yes, Time After Time was the Malcolm McDowell, and I think Mary Steenburgen, another time travel alumni, I guess, where he played H.G. Wells, and he was traveling through time to stop Jack the Ripper. It was a pretty cool one. I think they made a TV show about it like a few years ago. I don't think it did well because you never hear from it anymore. But I did like the movie though. Okay, let's see what Len has. Surprised no one has brought up Time Cop, Demolition Man, 12 Monkeys, Donnie Darko has great time travel movies. Yes, I like JVCD and Time Cop. Yes, JCVD was a staple of my youth. All of ours, Chris. He was a staple of all of ours. And that's why I like you. Because you always answer with cool stuff like that. Unlike Brian over here who says the masses are idiots. Mostly kidding, mostly. No, I do agree with you. But there's perfectly evident by a lot of things happening in the world today. But to go back to Len's point, 12 Monkeys I don't love, but was a good movie. Do not get me wrong, but I don't love it. I actually liked the TV show more that they came out with not too long ago than the movie itself. But it was a cool premise, I will say that. Time Cop, I love it because you love JCVD. Demolition Man, just watched that the other day, and there is a version where Pizza Hut is the one who wins the franchise wars. Did not know that. It screwed me up. Donnie Darko is good. Yes, it's a time travel movie, but at the same time, it's such a peripheral thing to the main story. I think maybe I just need to rewatch it, but I didn't love Donnie Darko, but I did like. Weird thing is, I didn't love Donnie Darko, but I liked Southland Tales. And I think a lot of people that's reverse. Brian, did I sent it to you? Pizza Hut. Yes, I think I posted this. If you go on my Twitter at the Scene Snob, or even on Instagram, I think I did too, and the Facebook page, just go check out at the Scene Snob on any one of those. There is a version. I don't know what version it is, but I did record it, and they go to Pizza Hut. He says it. He's like, I want to take you out to Pizza Hut. He actually says Taco Bell. You can see him mouth it, but they dubbed Pizza Hut over it. And they dub Pizza Hut over every time it's mentioned. Taco Bell's mentioned. And they computer generated the signs that said Taco Bell on the doors and everything to Pizza Hut. So yes, there is a version of Demolition Man, which we are getting a second movie as confirmed by Stallone. So that will be weird and anxious to see how that all works out. I wonder if he figured out the 3 seashells. Pizza Hut won the franchise wars, not Taco Bell. I will always be Taco Bell to me, but not in this version. So we were talking about time travel movies, and one that never really gets mentioned that I actually like, that I thought was really well, because there's not actually travel in it, but it is a time travel type of movie. It's Frequency. I don't know how many people saw Frequency out there, but it is a really cool father and son connection type movie. Dennis Quaid was great in it. Jim Caviezel was great in it. Again, there isn't time travel in it, but it. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that, Brian. I'll get to that in one sec. And because I have news about that too. But it was fantastically done, I thought, Frequency, and a really cool story and premise. All right, so Brian mentioned Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. How will we not mention this in the favorites? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, and by extension, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I don't care if you don't like Bogus Journey. Bogus Journey is great. If not for anything, for one line by death at the end, and that is, you may be a great king or a little street sweeper, but sooner or later, we all dance with the weak creeper. I said that wrong, I screwed it up, and I'm a podcaster, and that is my way to do. Bill and Ted is great. Actually, some news. Bill and Ted 3 Face the Music, Bill and Ted Face the Music, may be coming out VOD in August. Right now, they are kind of looking into it and figuring out what they want to do. But it has been announced that it's probably going to be VOD, with everything and how VOD has been kind of going lately. So, we may be getting it at home. And I will watch it, because it's Bill and Ted. So, Len, he did. You spread the cheeks with 2 seashells and wipe with the third. How? How does that work? You need 3 hands to make that work. Why wouldn't they just install a bidet? Why not? Or a toilet that has a bidet attached or something. It's the future. It's 2032. Figure it out. We have 12 years to figure this out. Anyway, Frequency is so good, Brian. We just talked about it. I think it's a great movie. I think everybody did a fantastic job with it. Chris says, is it just me, or is Stallone finishing all of his old movies with sequels? Rocky, Rambo, now Demolition Man. What's next? Tango and Cash 2? Yes. Please. Thank you. Do it. I want him and Russell back together again as buddy cops. 100% on board with that. Do it before Demolition Man. I want Tango and Cash 2. I love Tango and Cash. A lot of people hate it. I don't care. It's okay for you to be wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. Tango and Cash 2 would be amazing. And I want them back in jail, breaking out, escape plan style, and then going and tearing up Los Angeles again. I'm in. I'm in now. I'm going to fund this movie with Pulling Focus money. That's right, Brian. We are funding Tango and Cash 2. Let's get this done. You can kill me for that. But anyway, hopefully, we'll see what happens. Little Yoda's on board. I'd rather take Cobra 2 as the next Stallone movie. You're right. Cobra 2 should be made. I am 100% on board with Cobra 2. We will take the money that we make, Brian and I, over at Pulling Focus, and that we funded with Tango and Cash 2, and that when it's a huge hit, we'll take that money, and we'll make Cobra 2. Am I right, Brian? Let's do this. Let's get this done. We're in. We can get this done. It's going to be amazing. We're producers now. That's how this works. We're Stallone producers. We're sequels to Stallone. That's our job. Production company. It's called Stallone Productions. What about Oscar 2? The money that we make from Cobra 2 has now got to go to Oscar 2. And it's only going to be a fraction. Because it's not some big, huge epic. But Oscar 2 needs to be made. We need to see what happens to his daughter when she finally gets married. His daughter, who is still the most beautiful and amazing Marissa Tomei. And then we take it, and then we have to pivot. We have to pivot a little bit, Brian. This is where it goes next. Brian, we're pivoting. We're going from Oscar 2 to My Cousin Vinny 2. Get it done. Come on. We can do this. His son is his paralegal. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll find writers. Pulling Focus is now a production company, and we only deal with the fun stuff that we want to see made into sequels. We're Morgan Creek, for lack of a better Brian's in. Let's do this. Where would you take Cobra 2? Where do you take... Well, I guess that's an easy one to take. Yeah, you can take those. You can make sequels out of all those action movies, even though he's old as hell. Brian, I'd do just about anything for Miss Tomei. 100%. She's amazing. And not even because she's so beautiful, which she is, because she's so amazing of an actress. I just want to work with her. I just want to talk to her for days about all of her performances. Throw Mama from the Train too. Okay, I'll stop. Chris, let's just do it. Let's just throw it in there. We still got Danny. We still got Billy. We can do it. They're still around. So many sequels being made. Who wants to see what? Obviously, people love the 80s. That has to be the clear, concise winner of the Best Decade Award for for movies, it seems, which was the topic question, if you guys are paying attention. We want to remake all of these movies. Cobra 2, the next working title. Glad you're writing it for us. Get it on paper. I just made an edit for my list of 100. Ooh. All right. I'm not going to announce it, but Brian and I are working on a very cool project for Pulling Focus. I hope you guys... Spitting Cobra. Ooh, I love it. So we are working on a very cool idea that we're going to be putting back together. And it will probably come out in the upcoming months. I know he's very busy with Skyline Indie Film Festival. And I don't want to bog him down with anything. If anything, I want to alleviate some of that pain if I can as a partner. Oh, Matt, you joined. Matt Burns is here. I love Matt. I interviewed him. You should go check out the interview. We had a lot of fun. Back to the Future, the 1980s, and Ash from Evil Dead and John Wick. Wow, that's a team. That is a team. I love that team up. One's got a chainsaw. One just needs a gun. I love it. What about Dick Tracy 2, The Return of Flat Top? Since the actor did confirm you Mike, he shot first. Confirmed to me, yes, he did. Brian says, sup, Matt. I'm glad the community all knows each other and we're all friends. I love it. So, Len, I'm never going to make Dick Tracy 2. I'm never going to make Dick Tracy 2 because if I had the power to make Dick Tracy 2, it would make you happy. And as my best friend in the world of 23 years, I want nothing more than to never make you happy. So I will not be making Dick Tracy 2. Hope you're doing well. Glad to see you and Mick. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. So, yeah, Len, I'm not making Dick Tracy 2. You got Bark Up the Tree of Warren Beatty for that. He'd probably do it. Dick Tracy was not that great of a movie. I don't know. Listen, again, I say find the merit in everything, and the jacket and fedora were cool. No, there were cool aspects of that movie. There were. Maybe I just need to rewatch it. It's one of those movies I haven't seen in probably 20 years. That I think just kind of like, do you see what I deal with, people? That's true, Len. Oh, Matt says Dick Tracy was super underrated. I'll tell you what. I'm going to refrain from Dick Tracy and saying any more about Dick Tracy. I'm going to watch it before my next episode, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about it. And kind of just re-review it and see what I thought. Gotta run. See y'all next week. Ryan, I will talk to you on Friday. Well, I'm sure I'll talk to you before Friday, but we will definitely be talking Friday on Pulling Focus when we record a new episode, so make sure you look for that next week. The use of color and lighting is amazing. Len Francis on Dick Tracy. It's alright. It's alright. Well, people, we had some pretty good talk here. I don't know how you feel about my optimistic filmmaker review. I love them. I love the optimism. I'm not saying that there's no room for pessimism. There surely is. I can name about 1 billion filmmakers that have made pessimistic movies over the years that I love. But I will say the optimistic filmmakers need to stop being looked down upon by film snobs. 100%. They have a place in this world. They belong. I am going to revisit it, Matt. I promise. I'll revisit it. I usually on every Tuesday, so I have to revisit it before next Tuesday, definitely. and I'll see what I think. And I'll watch it with my kids. I think they'll love it. And it probably is underrated, but I will always give Lynn a hard time. Well, I'm probably going to get going. This has been a great podcast. Remember, guys, follow me on @thescenesnob on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have lots of stuff, live shows, stuff like that go on. Make sure you're checking out Behind the Box podcast. That is our cult classic show with myself, Rob Gosher, Lori Havermill. We're all the hosts. Len Francis is coming in as guest host. Maybe I can talk him into becoming a host at some point. But tomorrow we will be live on the Behind the Box podcast Facebook and the Scene Snobs YouTube channel. So go check it out. We are arguing and debating our movie monsters bracket, and tomorrow night is the section of alien monsters. So our top 16 monsters, we're going to dwindle that down to one. We did slashers last week, which is a lot of fun. You should go back and check out that episode. Guys, thank you all for joining in, everybody who was on the show and gave their opinions and input. I love it every week. Remember, I'm on 9:30 every week, so every Tuesday, so come check us out. Talk to me. I love it. Thanks again. So this has been the Scene Snobs Podcast Live. Thanks again for anybody listening. And everybody listening, this will be up again tomorrow on thescenesnobs.com. Go check us out. Go follow us everywhere. Brand new Polling Focus coming out next week as well. So with Brian and I from Skyline Indie Film Festival. Thanks again, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.